Hey, I'm Savannah, and this is my story of 17 and pregnant. How I found out I was pregnant. So I work at a restaurant. I'm a hostess, and my boss has 3 daughters that we take places. So one of his daughters, Deanna, had to be picked up from gymnastics that day, and so I went to pick her up, and he told me that after I took her home that I could leave and go home because my stomach was hurting, and I had been having stomach aches for the past like 2 or 3 weeks. So I went and picked her up, and she wanted Sonic before she went home, so I took her to Sonic. And then there's a Walmart right across from Sonic, and I was telling her how I was like going home after I took her home because my stomach was hurting, and she was like, "You've been having stomach aches like every day for weeks, like you should take a pregnancy test." I was like, "I'm not pregnant, like there's no way, blah blah blah." And she was like, "Well, just take one." And I was like, "I'm not wasting my money on pregnancy tests." And she said, "I'll pay for it, just take a pregnancy test." And I was like, "Okay, if you want to pay for it, like I'll do it to prove you wrong." So I took the pregnancy test. We went and bought it at Walmart, and I actually have pictures of us at Walmart like holding up the pregnancy test, and like it was all a joke, like we never thought that it would be positive. And I'll like insert those and show y'all. So we went to the Circle K right down the road, like literally next door to the Walmart, and went to the bathroom, and I took the test, and I sat it down. It's supposed to sit for 3 minutes, so I sat it down, and we were just standing there talking, and I picked it up, and yeah, we actually have pictures in the bathroom also of like holding up the pregnancy test, like making like it was all a joke. Like I never in a million years thought I was pregnant. And I mean like she like said that, but I don't think she really thought that it would be positive. Like it was not serious at all. So I sat it down, and then I picked it up, and we're still laughing and talking, and I just got silent, and I just stared at it, and she was like, "No," and I was like, "Yeah." And so I was in shock. I went to pick up my keys and my phone off the sink, and it was like sitting on the side of the sink, and you know how like motion censored, so if you put something under it, the water starts. And so I dropped my keys and my phone trying to pick it up, and my wallet, my keys, my phone, all of that, and I dropped it in the sink, and water started running on it, and I just sat there staring at it because I was in so much shock, like I just couldn't pick it up. So she picked it up for me, and we left. We went outside and sat in my car, and I didn't know what to do. My best friend was at work, and I didn't want to tell my parents. Me and the father were not together at the time. History on that: we dated for 11 months, and we broke up in January, so this was May. So we were not together. We still hung out, obviously, and all, but we weren't together at all. And so I didn't want to call him and tell him. We weren't exactly getting along at that moment, and so I think I was actually blocked at the time, so I couldn't have even called him. Yeah, I was blocked at the time. I couldn't call him. So I called a different friend, and because my best friend was at work, so I called a different friend, and I was like, so we had actually a couple nights before were Snapchatting, and like I was saying my stomach hurt, and they were like, "Well, maybe you're pregnant," and I was like, "Yeah, maybe." And it was a complete joke. I never really thought that I was pregnant. Like it was a complete joke. And I called them, and I was like, "So you remember how the other night we were joking about me being pregnant?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well," and they were like, "No," like we just were like so in shock, and they were like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I went to my best friend's work. She works at Sonic, yeah, where we just were. So I went there, and I pulled up to the window, and I was like, "I need you to go on break, like come outside." She was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Just come outside." I was being really mean. I was just being very demanding. I was like, "Just come outside," and I was like freaking out. I was like, "Just like I need to talk to you right now." Her boss was actually standing beside her, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, like go on break, it's fine." Like obviously I was very upset and like freaking out, so he was just kind of like, "Yeah, that's fine." So she came outside, and she walked to the car, and I just handed her the test, and that's when I started crying. And I just cried, and she just hugged me, and she cried. And so after we cried for a few minutes, she was like, "Well, at least I have a DD for 9 months," and started making jokes about it. And so that's like just how, like, so then we started laughing, And then we just sat there and talked, like what we're gonna do. And she told me that she would come with me to tell my parents. And she texted his father and told him that to unblock me. She told him to unblock me and to call me. It's an emergency, like blah blah blah. And he never replied to her. So she had to go back to work. So I was like, alright. So there was 2 tests in the box. I was like, I'm gonna go to a gas station and take the next one. Like, maybe it's wrong, you never know. So I went to the next gas station, and as I pulled in the gas station, his truck was sitting right in front of the gas station. There's 2 entrances, and I pulled in this one, and he was sitting over here. So as I pulled in, I was like, that's his truck. And my boss's daughter was still with me, Deanna, and she was like, no, it's not. Like, his truck looks a lot like he has a truck that looks a lot like other people's, so it might not be his. Like, you don't know that. And I was like, no, I know his truck. That's his truck. Like, it doesn't look like anybody else's. Like, that is most definitely his truck. And as I pulled in, he actually had his windows down, and I saw him, and I was like, yeah. And in that moment, I knew I was pregnant. Like, I knew I was pregnant. I knew that we were having a baby. Like, it was just that he got his license back in January. He turned 16 in January, and I was 17 at the time, so he's actually younger than me. And so he had gotten his license however many months ago, January to May. And so he had gotten his license, and I've had mine, and we both drive around. We live 5 minutes apart. We go to the same school. We have the same friend groups, and I have never passed him on the road before. Like, January, February, March, April, May. 5 months of driving, of us both driving, and I have never passed him on the road before. So, I knew that, like, my first time seeing him, and I'm about to take another pregnancy test. I just took one. I don't know, I can't explain it, but it was just a feeling. I was like, wow, like, me and him are having a baby. Like, I cannot explain it, but I just knew in that moment. There was no doubt. So I went inside, I took the test, it was positive, and so I took Deanna home, and I went home, and I just acted normal in front of my parents. My dad was actually at work. He was working a night shift, and my mom was home, and I just acted normal. I ate dinner, then I went to bed, and later that night, he texted me, and he was like, what's, like, important? What do you need to tell me? And I was like, I need you to call me. I'm not texting this. And he was like, why? And then he called me, and he said, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know how to tell you this. And he was like, are you pregnant? And I said, well, I don't know, but the test says I am. And he was like, okay, well, he didn't have the best reaction at first. We weren't together, and we were actually arguing at the time. Like, we weren't getting along. I was blocked before this, so we just weren't getting along at the time. So he did not have the best reaction at first, and he immediately went downstairs and told his mom. He's super close, or he's close to his mom. Like, that's who, not that he, like, goes to her for everything, but anything serious, he always confides in her, and she's always been someone who's always been there for both of us when we dated. Anytime we had problems or anything, we both would talk to her about it. He's close to her, and I was close to her as well, and so that's who he immediately went downstairs and told. And she told him, you know, it's gonna be okay, and she was really supportive, and obviously, like, not upset, but upset just because we're so young, but still supportive and great. And so he texted me, and he was like, you know, it's gonna be okay, blah blah blah. And that's when he started being nice, and so we talked about it and all that, and we had school the next day. So he went to bed, and I told my mom, and I texted her. I was upstairs and she was downstairs, and I texted her, and I said, I gotta tell you something. You're gonna be really mad. Please don't hate me. And she was like, what? And I told her I was pregnant, and she said, I told her I thought I was pregnant, and she said, come downstairs, I'm gonna go get a pregnancy test, and you're gonna take it right now. And I was like, no, like, I already took 2, like, it's not that, like, I feel like I'm pregnant, like, I took the test, like, so she was she was really supportive, obviously in shock and upset, not upset or mad, but just, you know, like, do you realize, you know, everything's gonna change and all this, and kind of upset, but not mad, and just because she was in shock, but she was so supportive. And she just came upstairs and we just cried, and then she made my appointment for me, and all day at school, like, I cried. I had school the next day, and I cried, like, in every class period. I did not talk to anyone, and if you know me, you know I never stop talking. So everyone was like, are you okay? Like, I remember being at the lunch table, and everyone was like, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nothing, like, I'm just having a bad day, and, you know, I wasn't ready for people to know. And so, yeah, and his family and my family, the father's family and my family, both were very supportive and basically told me, you can have an abortion or you cannot have an abortion, and either way we will support you. And the father told me that as well. He was like, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. And so abortion was an option. It was not like someone told me you can't do that. It was absolutely an option, but it was just something that I could not do. Like, I personally just couldn't do it, and I'm not shaming anyone who has, because I have been in that situation where you think about it and you're like, well, you know, do I want a kid right now? Am I ready for a kid? And so I do understand the process, the mind thought at this age of wanting an abortion. So anyone who has, I'm not shaming you, but just personally something I could not do. I could not. I thought about it, and you know, I wanted to go away for college. I wanted to enjoy my senior year. I did not want my life to change, and so it was definitely something I thought about, because it would just be the easy way, but I just couldn't do it. Like, I personally could not talk myself into it. I just could not do it. So I made an appointment to go see an OBGYN, or to go see my OBGYN, and I went and saw him at the end of May. I found out on May 3rd, and I went and saw him at the end of May, and there was a little baby on the screen, and I instantly fell in love, and I was definitely excited to have a baby. I love kids. I've always wanted kids, so I was definitely excited to have a baby, but I was really scared. I'm 17. I'm not with the father. I have a job as a hostess at a restaurant. I don't make insane money. I make decent for my age. I got paid $9 an hour, so it was decent for a 17-year-old job, but it was not what I needed to support a child. So I was just really nervous and did not know, like, how am I going to do this, but I figured it out, and I just saved all of my money for the entire time I was pregnant, and I actually found out on May 3rd, and my appointment was like May 20-something, and I went to the appointment, and I was 12 weeks and 3 days pregnant, so I was almost 3 months pregnant, and I had no idea. Like, I mean, I had stomach aches, but it was just never a thought. Like, I don't know why. Like, looking back at it, the signs I had, I, like, am like, how did I not know? But I just didn't. I guess I don't know, it's just not something you really think about, I guess. And so, yeah, I was 12 weeks and 3 days pregnant. And so, comment down below if y'all want to hear my birth story, or if you have any more questions about my pregnancy or anything I didn't include that you want to know about. I think I really included everything pretty much, but anything else that y'all want to know, comment. If this video does good, I'll definitely make more vlogs and videos, and probably show him in the next video. He's sleeping right now. He's actually behind me. He sleeps with me every night. So he's sleeping right now, but if the next video, we'll definitely make a vlog with him. And yeah, so alright, bye.